Hey everyone, Sparrow Spalding here, and today we're going to talk about how to win a fight with a narcissist. This is an interesting topic because narcissists are amazingly skilled at winning arguments, right? And it's not that they win them fairly. It's just that they either overpower you, or they shame you, or they scream, or they storm off, or they create drama. But we're going to talk today about how to beat them at their game. So what I'm going to say next is kind of unsettling, even to say it out loud, but it's just the truth. So I'm going to say it. In order to win a fight with a narcissist or even a borderline, you really have to become a bit of a sociopath. Yeah, I said that. And the reason being, and by the way, there's this term out there called going gray rock. I don't really use that term. I don't love it, but it's kind of like becoming a sociopath, because in order to go gray rock, you just lose all emotion and you just don't care. Right? Or you have to really act like you don't care. And over time, what do they say? Fake it till you make it, right? But yeah, so a famous person once said, when they go low, we go high. That might be true for an average person. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, when they go low, you hit the floor, okay? You hit the floor. So the first step in doing this is you have to separate yourself. You have to be able to step back a little bit from the narcissist, right? And a lot of times you're trauma bonded, so it's really tough. But you need to just create some space. So start noticing their flaws, right? Just study them like a specimen, because that's what they've done to you. Even though in the beginning they were love bombing and they seemed to be so into you, they seem to be madly in love with you, they're actually scrutinizing you and studying you so that they can take little details about yourself and use them against you later on. Or, they're just learning you, they're studying you to figure out what all of your insecurities are so they can play upon them, right? And tear you down, break you down, bit by bit, limb by limb, until you're left with nothing, right? So you have to sort of use their evil superpower against them. So you get good at, just kind of observing, scrutinizing, figuring out, hey, is my narcissistic husband or boyfriend looking in the mirror too long, thinking his hairline's receding? Great, file that away so that the next time he's picking at you for something, you can wait a moment or wait even a day or two and then say, hey, just a quick question. I've noticed some extra hair in the shower. I've noticed some extra hair in the sink. Are you losing some hair? And, you've got to have that really innocent look on your face. You can't be smirking about it, because then you're going to give yourself away. But those are the things that they do to you. And so those are the things that you can do back just to maintain a level footing, to be honest. Or if they start attacking you about something, change the subject and be like, hey, off the subject, but I was cleaning today and I found some extra hair. Or finding things that you can pick at, not to be mean, not to be malicious, but just to play the game. So if you're going to play the game, though, you have to play to win. So you need to be better at it. So if you need to start studying, reading, watching this video 10 times, figure this out. This is going to be a saving grace for you. And if you say something like that, if you throw out a little hair loss bomb, and then watch how the narcissist reacts. Watch the facial expression, watch their body language, listen to their tone of voice. You're looking even for micro expressions, right? Most people know what those are by now, right? They're the little teeny facial expressions that people make that kind of give their emotions away or their intention sometimes. So you're paying attention. But a lot of times with a narcissist, if you do something like that, they'll have to come back and say something about you. So maybe you say something about hair loss, and then an hour later they're criticizing dinner, or they're chastising you because you didn't make the bed. And then you'll know, okay, that worked. And then where they're criticizing you or chastising you about making the bed, then what you can do, this is evil, y'all, is you go, oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't make the bed today. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I mean, it'll just throw them completely off guard because they're poking at you wanting an argument. They're wanting a fight. And then you don't give it. And you just go, oh, I'm just going to go make that bed real quick. Then you can get up and excuse yourself while you're giggling because you don't want them to see you laughing. Okay. Speaking of laughing, oh my goodness. So the best thing you can do to a narcissist is not to, scrutinize them, pick them apart. Those are all great skills. The worst thing you can do is you can laugh at them. Now, years ago, when I was studying Psych 101, I remember studying, it was an abnormal psych class, and we were studying flashers. Do you remember back in the 80s, this was a big thing where men mostly would wear trench coats and go out through the city and flash people, and they would have nothing on underneath, right? So I remember studying this in school, and what they said was these flashers were really looking to shock people. They somehow got this weird sexual gratification or this euphoria from shocking people. But when people laughed at them, right, when they saw the parts and they just laughed and pointed and giggled and haha, look at that, it completely dismantled their ego, it completely dismantled their identity, and they ran away in shame, right? Now, I don't know if this would still apply today, but because now we've gotten so much worse with online porn, and all of these things, nothing really shocks people anymore. But back in the day, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, this was a big deal. And it's the same thing when you laugh at a narcissist. It is the best thing that you can do because it dismantles them. And you might see them fly off the handle. You might see them scream, yell, throw things. A lot of times what you'll see is them storm out or run away because they just don't know what to do. And especially if you're just making eye contact and you're just laughing and you're saying, oh my gosh, you're just being so ridiculous right now. I can't even stand it. And or sometimes you don't have to say anything. You can just giggle. You just be like, wow. And when they see that not only have they not pierced your soul, right? They haven't hurt you. They haven't stabbed you. But you're laughing at them. When you're mocking them, it completely blows over that flimsy house of cards that I've talked about in other videos, right? A narcissist has a very flimsy foundation. So if you laugh, it's just like blowing on the house of cards. You blow it over and you have won that round, right? Now you have to be prepared for the backlash. That's the key. But be prepared. I mean, dealing with a narcissist is a game of chess. You want to be 3 to 4 steps ahead all the time because they will try to figure out a way. And if they have sociopathic tendencies or they're real malignant, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're out, stabbing your tires or brushing the toilet with your toothbrush. So you have to be careful of that kind of thing because sometimes, those are more borderline or sociopathic behaviors, but narcissists will do them too. And remember from my other videos, a lot of times narcissism and borderline and even some of the other personality disorders can kind of all coexist, right? So keep that in mind. Even though mental health only really diagnoses one, you can definitely have features of another. And again, in my experience, sometimes they just overlap so much. But keep that in mind. That's another great one. In some of my other videos, I talk about using enforceable statements. So instead of saying, you can't talk to me that way, you say, I'm not going to stand for this. Or you can say, I'm not standing for this. This is crazy. So enforceable statements with a narcissist, really super powerful. The bottom line, one-liners are great too. One-liners are like, hey man, I just love you too much to argue, or I respect you too much to argue. But the deal is, no matter what you're saying, you're not engaging. You're not engaging. So it's like they're throwing rocks at you. They'll start with pebbles and you're not reacting. So then they'll throw bigger rocks and then here comes the boulder. And when the boulder comes, you just dodge and the boulder misses you. You're not going to let it land and stick because then you're going to become triggered. Okay. So a couple of other real diabolical things that I'm going to share with you. Now, this is funny. These are suggestions that I have given to kids who get bullied at school. And I have worked with lots of kids over the years, and just about all the advice on bullies is crap, right? Ignore it. Tell them you can't treat me this way. Go tell a teacher, which, yeah, go tell a teacher, but 9 times out of 10, the teacher doesn't do anything, right? So let's say you've got a kiddo on the playground and they're getting bullied by the same bully all the time that's just so mean, picking on their clothes, picking on their appearance, telling them they're stupid, whatever the case. Here's what I've told those kids in the past. All right, that bully comes up and he's talking to you, he's picking on you, and what you say is, oh, God, did you brush your teeth today? Your breath stinks. Did you eat a poop sandwich? Oh my goodness, you stink. And then every time that bully tries to open their mouth, you just say it again. Oh, you stink. Man, I gotta go get some fresh air. Check you later. Smell you later. Whatever the case, you can use a version of that with a narcissist, and it'll be really funny to see what their response is. But yeah, they're yelling at you, they're bitching at you for, and you can say, hey man, I'd love to continue this conversation, but first, would you like a breath mint? Because your breath is really stinky. And just see how they respond to that, right? And maybe their breath's not stinky, you're just using it as a tool, but again, they're trying to pull you down, so we're deflecting a little bit. So finding things like that can be really effective. I know it might sound petty, but the narcissist is petty. And again, when they go low, sometimes we got to go a little bit lower. But we use our powers for good, not evil, which means that we're using our powers to stay intact, to protect our peace, and to not let the narcissist completely drain us or activate our shame or any of that, right? So keep that in mind. So those are a few suggestions on how to win a fight with a narcissist. Of course, the biggest fight you can win is to walk away, right? And you can walk away from the conversation, or a lot of times it's important to walk away from the relationship. Now, it might not be possible to do that right away. And so these are tools and skills that you use to bide your time. Maybe it's a financial issue. Maybe it's an issue with kids. Maybe there's a health issue. Who knows, right? There's a lot of reasons people stay in relationships with narcissists. If you are in that situation, my heart really goes out to you. I am so sorry. That's awful. But hopefully you're coming up with a plan, at least a plan to get professional help or to leave the relationship, and really put yourself first, keep yourself intact. But yeah, in the meantime, these are some suggestions. I invite you to try them and leave me your comments below and let me know how that works for you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the birdcage below and subscribe. Oh, and please go to my website, sparrowspalding.com. Check out my page. If you subscribe to my newsletter, there's a couple free goodies on there. One I really like, it's an unresolved trauma checklist. And I really suggest, if you are struggling with a narcissist, go through the checklist and see how many boxes you tick. You might be surprised at how much trauma that you have. One more aside, and I will make a separate video about this. However, if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, we have to remember this. 99% of the time, it has to do with something unresolved from childhood that we're still struggling with, that we're still stuck with. So if we're attracted to narcissists, if we date them, if we marry them, it usually means that you had quite a bit of childhood trauma. And maybe narcissism is your normal because of your parents or because of how you were raised. So keep that in mind. Sometimes we hyper-focus on the narcissist when we really need to focus on ourselves. And along those lines, I recently wrote a book called Uncaged, Trauma Recovery Using Facet Integration Technique. Now, facet integration technique is my specific technique as a professional and a trauma survivor. This is what I have come up with to really help integrate trauma, heal trauma in order to live your best life. So chances are, if you're with a narcissist, you are a trauma survivor. Go to my website, check out the book, grab your checklist, and as always, hug yourself from me, and we'll see you next time.